It's past 9 p.m. Your textbook has been open to the same page for almost 20 minutes. You promise yourself tonight will be different. You only have to read one chapter and there will be no distractions. So you took out your phone, but somehow you have already checked it 4 times. And it's not because there was one important message that you had to attend to. It's because you needed an excuse to look away from the page. Nobody forced you to sit down tonight. There was no cane behind you. There was no teacher or parent threatening to seize your phone if you fail the next test. If anything, you actually want to do well this time. You want to feel the embrace, the praise of being a successful student, and still you cannot make your brain focus. And you just whisper to yourself, just start, under your breath. That gap of wanting to and still not being able to is not a discipline problem. It's a problem of how you were trained to think of motivation. Hi, my name is Adegbaju David and you're welcome to this channel. I've spent the last 10 years as an educator and I'm on a mission to raise 1 billion brilliant individuals before I'm done with this life. So this channel, this video right here, is one of the vehicles for that mission. And if you want to be counted among those billions, the subscribe button is right there. Hit it and let's get into this video. While we were in primary school, the way you were motivated to get studying done was majorly through fear or expectations. So you had a teacher who waved the cane or a parent who waved the punishment, like seizing your phone or stopping you from visiting your friends because of bad grades. Now, I'm not here to argue which is better because I believe fear as a motivation is quite pivotal in our development. I want you to look at it this way. What will motivate a stone-aged man to keep on moving? It's probably the fear of being eaten by a lion. But as that stone-aged man progresses further, the motivational factors has moved from fear to self-actualization. So the top students, the smart students, are simply the students who have transitioned from being motivated by fear to being motivated by curiosity. I want you to check it out. The student who is doing well in medicine is doing so because they want to see how much they can do or how much their ability can be, or they have a dream they want to fulfill or a vision they are building towards to. That's the drive that pushes them to read and give in the hours that they need to get that grade. But you just see them reading and come to a premature cause and effect narrative. The reason why they are successful students is because they read 6 hours. And you too want to read 6 hours. But I'm saying that you can't read 6 hours just because you want to read 6 hours. You can't read 6 hours just because you are motivated by fear. You can't read 6 hours just because you want to meet your parents' expectations. You read 6 hours because you are doing that to build a vision of yourself. In 1962, a psychologist named Sam Glossberg ran an experiment people still quote today. So he gave 2 groups of people a candle of tacks, a box of matches, and asked them to fix the candle to a wall so that it would burn without dripping wax onto the table below. One group was simply told they were timed for research. Another group was promised money based on how fast they solved the puzzle. If we had to look at it logically, we would say that the reward group, which is those that were promised money, will solve it. But those who were chasing money took time because pressure and reward narrowed their thinking. They tightened their focus onto the obvious move. And the obvious move wasn't the solution. Solving that puzzle would require a wider kind of thinking. Noticing the top box itself can become a shelf. What happens is that reward closes exactly that type of thinking that other academic work need. Other academic work needs a wide open thinking. Why did fear actually work while you were in just one, while you were in primary school? Because while you were in primary school, while you were in just one, you didn't require a lot of thinking. I was recently discussing with my brother who just finished his WAEC, and he said something that stuck with me. While you were in primary school, the work was quite simple. As long as you have a basic understanding of things, as long as you could reason, you could practically solve almost all questions in primary school. Even mathematics was quite simple at that time. But by the time you move to SS, it requires you to become a different kind of person. It requires you to be able to sit and read, because biology could not be understood by just your reasoning capacity. So while in primary school, you could copy, you could cram notes, you could cram a spelling list. You needed somebody's fear to do the heavy lifting for you, because your body was reacting to a raised voice, a cane on the table, a mother or father disappointed face. Whether or not your brain feels like studying, you have to do that, because you don't want the fear, you don't want the punishment to happen. But fear is like a borrowed energy. It belongs to whoever is threatening you and not you. So that day, when nobody is enforcing the studying anymore, and by university or your final years chasing a top grade in WAEC or JAM, mostly at night, the borrowed energy of fear runs out. And you find out you never actually built your own reason to sit down and read and study. You have to transition from being motivated by fear to being motivated by curiosity and wanting to see a better version of yourself. And that's why you can want it, you can genuinely want to do well, but you are not still able to force yourself to give in the time, the study effort to get the good grades. The question then becomes, how do you make this transition then? 3 steps. The first step is to do it for you. 2 researchers, Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, spent decades studying exactly this question. And their answer was later popularized in a book called Drive. And it comes down to 3 things your brain needs before it hands over real sustained focus. The researcher Deci ran one of the earliest experiments on this back in 1971. So he gave 2 groups of students the same puzzle, a stomach cube to solve. One group was paid for every puzzle they completed. The other group was not paid at all. Then he left the room and quietly watched through a one-way mirror who kept playing with the puzzle. You'll be surprised that the unpaid group kept playing. The paid group mostly put it down. So paying for them had strangely killed their interest in solving that puzzle. So this is the same way you would struggle to read that course PDF or that chemistry textbook, and you would pick a novel and read for hours. You can be shallow and then say, oh, that novel was more interesting than the chemistry textbook, which might be true. But if you look at it deeper, the reason why you can do this is because you decided to read the novel. You have autonomy. You have the sense to want to do it. Most of us don't come to chemistry textbooks because we want to do it. We come to chemistry textbook because we have to do it. I want you to imagine your parents walked in and saw your room was messy, and then they yelled that it should be cleaned up. Would it be cleaned up? Probably. If you are afraid of your parents, yes, it will be cleaned up. But would it be cleaned up as it should be? Probably not, because you'd mostly carry all the clothes and dump it in the same space. But if you woke up one morning and it dawned on you that your room was messy, and you thought of the fact that I should clean this up, you would carefully and gladly clean up the room and put every article in the right spaces. So the action is the same, but the reason and the drive to carry out that action is not the same. In one instance, you were motivated by force or fear. In another, you were motivated by autonomy. So how do you put this in practice as a student? It means that you are catching yourself mid-sentences. So instead of saying, I have to read this chapter, you notice the choice of actually reading it is still yours. So you would shift from saying, I have to read this to pass my exam. I have to understand organic chemistry to pass my exam, to I want to do this. So that small shift, your brain registers a choice. The task changes shape, and it's not something that somebody forces you to do. It's something you want to do it. Yes, you have to study organic chemistry, but you can decide to look at it this way. I want to be a doctor somewhere, someday, and organic chemistry is not something I have to study. It is something I want to study because it makes me a better student. And it's a better student that eventually becomes that doctor or the engineer. So What I want you to do is this. I want you to write one sentence before a big exam or a project and actually sit down with yourself and explain why this actually matters. Why does it matter to you? Not your teacher, not your parents, to you. And I want you to make this not something you just watch in a YouTube video. Pause this video, take out a pen and finish this sentence honestly. As a WIRE candidate, as a JAMB student, as a first year student, whatever you are right now, this exam or project matters to me big dash. Fill in the gap. And I don't want you to write something that is impressive. I want you to write something that is authentic to you. And when you're done, cut it out from that page, paste it out in your study space, and make sure you see it. You can make it your phone wallpaper. You can write it in the front cover of every textbook that you have and go back and reread it on the evenings where your motivation runs out. Because that evening will come. And that sentence of why this content matters to you would pull you back into the chair of wanting to study. Number 2, the goal for you is mastery and not completion. I want you to picture 2 students giving the same instruction. So one is go and read your further maths or go and study your further maths for your further maths examination. So one of them sees the syllabus as a mountain of untouched topics. Actually, obviously, that person will close the book within 10 minutes because they are overwhelmed by what they have to cover before they have even started. And so the other student picks exactly one topic, let's say differentiation, and says, today is not about understanding the entirety of further maths, it's just differentiation. At the end of the hour, the second student has something that the first student who looked at the whole topic doesn't have. Proof. The proof is that they can actually get better at this subject. A researcher named Teresa Annabelle studied this in adults, going through thousands of daily work diaries from people who were doing demanding creative work. And she found out that of everything that can lift a person's motivation, any given task on any given day is visible progress on meaningful work that outperforms everything else, even more than money, even more than praise from a boss, from your parents, from your teacher, or even fear. Your brain is wired to crave that same feeling, the evidence that you were not the same person you were yesterday. So an overwhelming goal would make you not want to start and continue, but a small finished goal causes you to start, continue, and want to go back the next day. So the day you finally solve that one integration question that has been mocking you for 1 week, and you would feel so much excitement because you have finally proven to yourself that this is doable, this is solvable. Now I want you to think of days where you sat with a textbook open for 3 hours and you closed it feeling worse than when you opened it. Why was it so? It's because you went into that 3 hours wanting to compete rather than wanting to master. So I want you to think of it this way, as I want to provide an illustration to make this standable for you. If I'm to build a house, obviously there are several steps to building a house. I have to have the building plan, I have to have the foundation dug, I have to have the blocks laid. Essentially, at each point of the construction, I am concerned about mastery and not completion. Because if the build plan is right, the foundation is right, the blocks are right, the house will also be right. It means that if I understand circulatory system, if I understand digestive system and probably excretory system, I understand the concept of biology. So the reason why your brain does this is because your brain is doing an estimation of the mental energy it will cost to be good at that particular topic or that particular subject. You have to take control and ask yourself, what is the single point I can master today? Because if you master that single point today, and another single point tomorrow, and another one next tomorrow, you have mastery in that course or that topic or that subject. For example, if you understand that the blood vessels that carries the blood from the heart through the heart is all you can understand for that day, is better than you wanting to understand the whole of circulatory system. Because that mountain of circulatory system will not move no matter how long you sit staring at them. The goal today is to understand a section of it, a subsection, a subtopic, and then you come back tomorrow and then you understand another subtopic. So before you sit down to study anything, don't think about, oh, I have that syllabus to finish, I have this course material to finish. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I can finish today What's the one thing I can understand today and go out there and prove it to yourself? So tomorrow, when you come back to studying and there is no motivation, you can show to yourself that I understood the blood vessels yesterday. I should be able to understand the heart today. The third step is to build your vision. Two students can sit down for the same course material, for the same topic, and one is thinking, this is just my teachers, my parents forcing me, and I need to just get over with it. The other has connected it to something bigger, because they are looking at it from this lens of this is the exact skill level that shows up in my WAEC paper or in this course that I want to study next year. And so the vision is not something that has to be grand or dramatic or some life calling. It just needs to be a reason that's yours, not one that is reliant on your teachers or your parent or a syllabus you have to complete. You have probably seen these videos where there is one student who is showing off their 300 plus in JAM or their first class result, and you admire it so much and you say, I want to be like this, right? Which is fair. Nothing is wrong with that. But I want you to look beyond the surface. That student who has that 300 plus or who has that first class, you will notice the score was never really the major motivation. The score was a proof of a vision they were chasing when nobody was watching them or grading them. Right? Back to the example I gave. The Stone Age man did not see the need to cross the ocean until there was a vision of conquering land at the other side. So the Stone Age man will risk drowning in water for weeks just to be on the water to conquer the other land that they envisioned. So the water was never the obstacle, because the vision came first, and the vision is what made the ocean worth crossing. And your exams or you being a successful student works the same way. The syllabus, the course material, the topic is just water in front of you. If there's no land, there is no vision ahead of you, there's no version of yourself that you are trying to reach, then every hard topic becomes a good enough to turn back. Every hard topic becomes a good enough not to want to give in the time.
How do you build this vision practically? I tell students that anytime you come across a major exam or a course material or some difficult topic, you shouldn't just jump ahead into that topic. So ask yourself, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I don't mean this to sound like a motivational speaker. Let me give you a practical example. Let's say you want to be a medical doctor in the next 5-6 years. You want to be an engineer. You want to own a business. You want to study abroad. You want to do things with yourself. The next 5 to 6 years is the future you who is a doctor. If you work it backwards, it means that you have to have a particular JAM score, you have to have a particular WAEC result, you have to have a particular terminal result while in secondary school, you have to have a particular study period at this weekend. And so if you follow that trend downwards, you will see that you sitting down to study on a Saturday instead of just scrolling through TikTok is connected to you in the future who has this vision. So you are solving the differentiation problem you are going through organic chemistry because it's one step closer to you being a medical doctor. It's one step closer to that vision of yourself who wants to study abroad. And so when you catch yourself walking with nothing behind it, just going through the motions, I want you to stop yourselves and ask, what is this actually connected to? If you can't find an answer, then you have to go find that thread again. So instead of pushing yourself blindly, trying and forcing and all those stuff, you just have to simply sit down. This is connected to where I want to be. This is connected to where I need to be. This is connected to where I would have the full reality or the full actualization of what I would love to be. The truth of the matter is that chemistry will convince you it's better to sleep than strong. But if you have a vision of where you want to be in the next 5 years, you would rather study now. You would rather want to study now than scroll TikTok or scroll through Instagram. Because you know that for every time you do not do that, the future you is gradually not being possible. All of these three things, autonomy, progress, and purpose, can be quietly undone by one careless habit. I want you to remember the Soma Cube experiment. So the moment Desi's students were paid to solve the puzzle, it stopped becoming, or it stopped being theirs and became a job. And so the same thing happens when you promise yourself a reward before you even sit down to read. So most students have been told that reward yourself. So you said, if I finish this chapter, I'll watch this movie. It's harmless. But you have just made that chapter the price of the movie and not something you chose to do. So autonomy is gone. The reward is announced in advance. And it does the same thing to your purpose. If you have written down your reason, if you know that this chapter is connected to your WAEC paper, which is connected to your JAM result, which is connected to your 5 to 6 years vision of being a doctor, that is enough reason to continue. Now, you are not reading because if you are reading or you are wanting to finish that chapter is because of the movie you have set as a reward, then you have defeated the whole scheme of things that I've talked about in this video. Because then the reward is not the future you. The reward is the 35 minutes away you who sits down scrolling TikTok, or who sits down scrolling Instagram, or who sits down watching that movie. Now, you're not reading because it matters to you. You are reading because there is a movie on the other side. So the purpose you is being pushed out by the bribe you have given yourself to get this done. The whole point of finishing that topic or going through that hard, difficult course material or solving that question is to give yourself the proof that you are gradually pushing yourself to being that version of you that is capable of being that doctor, that engineer that wants to study abroad. But if the reward is already lined before you start, you don't get that proof cleanly because you just feel like you have survived long enough to get the reward, which is scrolling or watching a movie. I want you to try it the other way. So start a session because the reward is the future you. And then at the end of the session, you close the book and then only then do you decide what you will do next. And let it be a surprise for yourself. So you start reading chemistry or you start reading biology. There is nothing promised in advance. There is nothing dangled over to want you to drive through that. It is hand. The reward is hand after a fact that I did that. And you are not just bribing yourself for you studying. It's not just a movie. The reward for you studying is the future. While knowing this automatically doesn't fix it, because motivation is only half of what's changed for the students who are doing exceptionally well. The other half is a set of mindsets that every student has to have to be shifted into being a top student. I broke that down in the video right here. And if what we are covered today felt true to you, this one is going to even hit harder. I will see you in this video.